Most people have heard stories about ridiculous HOA rules, but nothing could prepare me for the moment an HOA Karen called the police. Yes, the actual police, on my 82-year-old grandma's oxygen machine. And why? Because, according to her, the soft humming noise was ruining her peace. But the real shock wasn't the phone call. It was what happened next. It started on a calm Thursday morning. I had just stepped outside to bring Grandma her mail when I noticed Karen standing at the edge of our driveway, arms crossed, sunglasses on, nose pointed toward the sky like she was sniffing for trouble. That was always the first sign something was about to go wrong. Grandma had been struggling with her breathing the past few weeks, so her doctor recommended a portable oxygen concentrator. It wasn't loud, not even close. The noise it made was softer than a fan. But to Karen, anything that wasn't under her control was apparently a problem. And today, she clearly woke up in the mood to cause chaos. She didn't greet me. She didn't ask a question. She just marched forward and said, "I need you to turn that thing off. Right now. It's disturbing my morning meditation." I blinked at her, thinking she had to be joking. "My grandma needs that to breathe," I said calmly. Karen rolled her eyes as if I were exaggerating. "It can't be that serious. She looks fine. Besides, the HOA noise ordinance says no disruptive sounds between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. It's 11 a.m., I pointed out. Karen paused, clearly irritated that facts weren't on her side today. "Well, even so, it's still disturbing. And if you don't turn it off, I'll have to escalate this." I didn't think she meant police-level escalation. I thought she meant calling the HOA board, filing a complaint, or sending one of her famous all-caps emails. But no. This time, Karen wanted to be a hero in a battle she created in her own mind. I tried to stay polite, even though my patience was slipping. "Ma'am, with respect, she needs this for her health. There's nothing we can do." Karen stared at me for 2 long seconds, then pulled out her phone. "You leave me no choice," she said dramatically. "I'm reporting this disturbance." And she dialed 911. Not the HOA. Not a non-emergency line. 911. I froze. Grandma looked terrified. And Karen stood there proudly like she had just saved the neighborhood from a villain. The sirens we heard next would change everything. The wail of approaching sirens echoed down our quiet street, growing louder with every passing second. Neighbors peeked out through blinds and half-opened doors, confused and concerned. To them, the sound signaled an emergency, someone in danger, someone needing urgent help. To Karen, it meant victory. She stood tall at the end of our driveway, clutching her phone like a badge of honor. "Finally," she muttered, "someone will take this seriously." I wanted to scream. Grandma, who could barely stand on her own some days, clutched her oxygen machine with trembling hands. "Sweetheart, I didn't mean to cause trouble," she whispered. "You didn't," I assured her. "You're not the problem." As the first patrol car pulled up, lights flashing, Karen practically jogged forward to greet the officers. "Over here! Over here!" She waved like she had just discovered buried treasure and needed witnesses. 2 officers stepped out, Officer Daniels, who had been on this route for years, and a younger rookie I didn't recognize. Both looked around confused. There was no chaos. No fire, no emergency, just us. "What's the situation?" Daniels asked, voice calm but firm. Karen immediately launched into her performance. "Thank goodness you came. There's a noise disturbance coming from this house. It's been going on all morning and it's completely ruining the neighborhood's atmosphere." Officer Daniels glanced at us, then back at her. "A noise disturbance?" he repeated, like he couldn't believe he'd actually heard that. "Yes," Karen insisted dramatically. "That machine," she pointed accusingly at Grandma's oxygen concentrator, "is extremely loud and violates HOA noise regulations. I have rights to peace in my own home." I stepped forward. "Officer, this is a medical device. My grandma needs it to breathe." Daniels nodded slowly, assessing the situation with obvious disbelief. He approached Grandma gently. "Ma'am, are you okay? Do you require any medical assistance?" Grandma shook her head shyly. "I'm fine, dear. This machine just helps me breathe easier." The rookie looked horrified, glancing between Karen and the small, gently humming machine. "This is what we were called for?" "Yes!" Karen barked. "Look, I'm not heartless, but this is a community. We have rules. She can use it silently or not at all." The rookie opened his mouth, stunned. Daniels simply sighed. "Ma'am," he said to Karen, "this device is not a violation of any law, and calling 911 for something like this is not appropriate." Karen gasped. "So you're taking their side?" "We're taking the side of common sense," Daniels replied. But Karen wasn't done. Not even close. She crossed her arms and glared at us like we had personally insulted her existence. "This isn't over," she said, and I knew she meant it. After the officers left, the street slowly returned to its usual quiet, except for Karen, who stomped away muttering like a villain whose plan had been foiled. But if I thought the situation was over, I was wrong. Because Karen, when embarrassed, never backed down. She doubled down. Grandma insisted she was fine, but I could see the stress settling in her shoulders. Maybe we should move the machine upstairs, she suggested weakly. No, I said firmly. You're not hiding in your own home. You didn't do anything wrong. But Karen didn't see it that way. For her, losing one battle meant preparing for war. By late afternoon, she had already printed out flyers. Actual flyers. She taped them to mailboxes, the clubhouse board, and even our fence. Each one said, "Notice, noise pollution affecting community harmony. Residents, stay aware." Right under it was a blurry photo she'd taken of Grandma's oxygen machine, like it was some kind of criminal evidence. When I confronted her, she didn't even pretend to be ashamed. "The community deserves to be informed," she said, arms crossed as always. "Your mother—" "Grandma," I corrected sharply. "Your elderly relative can use her device indoors, away from public peace." "She already does," Karen waved her hand. Semantics. That evening, a few neighbors came by to check on Grandma. Most of them were appalled by Karen's behavior. Mrs. Jenkins, from across the street, even brought cookies. "Don't let that woman scare you," she said. "We all know she's the one ruining the peace." But not everyone was supportive. Around 7 p.m., Mr. Dillard, an HOA board member and Karen's unofficial sidekick, knocked on our door. He didn't greet us. He didn't smile. He just launched straight into HOA mode. "We've received a noise complaint," he said. "From Karen," I replied flatly. He cleared his throat. "The device exceeds acceptable ambient levels defined by HOA subsection. It's a medical machine," I cut in, "protected by state health regulations and federal disability law and basic human decency." He didn't like that answer. People like him and Karen hated when rules didn't bend their way. "Well, we'll be reviewing the situation," he said stiffly, "and determining appropriate corrective actions." Grandma's face fell. "I don't want to cause trouble." "You're not," I reminded her. "They are." As Dillard walked away, Karen stood on her porch, smirking. She mouthed, "Told you." I felt something snap inside me, not anger, but resolve. If Karen wanted a fight, she was about to meet someone who wouldn't back down. Because I had just realized something. Her war wasn't against the noise, it was against us, and I wasn't letting her win. The next morning, before the sun even rose, I made a decision. If Karen wanted a fight, she would finally get one. But not the unprepared, defensive kind she expected. This time we would fight her with truth, law, and every piece of common sense she had tried so hard to ignore. I started by gathering proof. Decibel readings from a phone app, doctor's notes about Grandma's oxygen dependency, state regulations outlining medical accommodation rights, even the HOA handbook, which, ironically, had an exemption for medical devices buried in the fine print. Karen never read the fine print. She preferred reading things she could weaponize. By 10 a.m., I walked straight into the HOA office with everything in hand. The board was mid-meeting, and Karen was sitting right there beside them, smug and overconfident. She didn't expect me to show up. Even less, she didn't expect me to show up prepared. Mr. Dillard cleared his throat. "We weren't expecting—" "I know," I interrupted, "but you'll want to see this." I placed the stack of documents on the table. Karen shifted uncomfortably, sensing that whatever she started was about to turn on her. I began calmly. "Here is the decibel reading of my Grandma's oxygen machine." I slid the printout across the table. 40 decibels. Quieter than average conversation. Quieter than Karen's car engine. Quieter than her screaming at the mailman last week. The rookie board member stifled a laugh. I continued, laying out each document like evidence in a trial. "Here are state health laws requiring accommodation for medical devices. Here are disability protections. And here," I held up the HOA handbook, "is your own rule allowing medical equipment without restriction." Karen's eyes widened. That's taken out of context." "No," I said, flipping the page toward her. "That's the entire context." The room went silent. Finally, Mrs. Gupta, the most reasonable board member, leaned forward. "This is clear. The device is allowed. The complaint is invalid." Karen shot up from her chair. "You can't just ignore a disturbance." "It's not a disturbance," Mrs. Gupta replied. "It's a medical necessity." Mr. Dillard hesitated but finally nodded. "We won't pursue the complaint." For a moment, Karen stood frozen, caught between her ego and reality. Then she grabbed her purse and stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the blinds. When I got home, Grandma was sitting on the porch, machine humming beside her. "Everything okay, dear?" I smiled. "Better than okay. You won." She laughed softly. "I wasn't fighting." "That," I said, sitting beside her, "is what makes the victory sweeter. Because sometimes the loudest bullies are defeated by the quiet strength of someone who just refuses to stop breathing." If you love this wild HOA story, don't forget to hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel for more crazy Karen and HOA moments. You won't believe what happens next.